Hello and welcome back to live coverage of the Apex Gaming $5,000 Modern Invitational Qualifier here in sunny Caldwell, Ohio. I'm Todd Tandy Anderson, joined by Ross Merriam. Say hi, Ross.
Hi, Ross.
We are entering into the final round of Swiss, and after this round, we will have our top 8. Actually, I'm getting word that we actually already have all of our top 8 players, Ross. All of them.
So, we have 8 players at 5-1 or better. They've all shaken hands.
Son of a gun!
So our top 8 is determined, but we still have a round of Swiss to play it out. There's still plenty of prizing for the top 16.
Yeah.
They get 10,000 prize wall tickets. That is a pretty big deal when that prize wall has collector booster packs of Final Fantasy for 5,000 tickets apiece.
You know, I heard from the professor of the Professor fame that the collector boosters are worth more than PlayStation 5.
That's the box.
He did a giveaway and you can choose PlayStation 5 or Final Fantasy Collector Booster Box, and all 5 winners chose Final Fantasy Collector Booster Box. So I would take these prize wall tickets and I would get as many of those collector boosters as I can, and then I'd sell them on eBay.
Yeah. Plenty to play for to make this top 16. 9th through 16th also receives 5 leaderboard points, where 17th and beyond is only 1. Those points can qualify you for the Apex Invitational, and the top 8 on the leaderboard will have a round 1 bye at that Invitational. So there's plenty on the line here in the last round, even though the top 8 has already been determined. Yeah,
and on top of that, you know, we do get to watch a sweet deck this round, a deck that I hold near and dear to my heart. This round, we're going to be watching Russell Morehouse on Simic Infect. This is a deck that Tom Ross and I used to play all the time on the SCG Tour back in the day. You know, all it takes is one of the Infect creatures, a couple pump spells, and the game's over. A lot has changed since then, including a whole host of like free spells that are very disruptive, but I'm very interested to see how this deck performs.
I'm calling this Zoomer Infect.
Zoomer Infect.
This is very different than, you know, the old Infect deck. No Glistener Elves. Instead of Venerated Rot Priest in the 1-mana spot.
No, thank you.
We got Preordain and Stock Up to give the deck more card selection and staying power. Force of Negation as a protection spell. Everybody tries to pick the fight on their own turn. Now your Force of Negations are live. And then 4 copies of March of Swirling Mist.
Yeah, that one is one where you can do a bunch of pitches, and with Venerated Rot Priest, you just target all your creatures and you just gain a bunch of Infect triggers.
So this deck has a lot of ways to win outside of combat.
I hate it. I now hate it. It's different.
Todd, you used to be with it, but then they changed what it was.
Yeah.
Now what you're with isn't it, and what's it seems weird and scary to you.
Yeah. You know, I used to hang an onion from my belt, which was
the style at the time.
Anyway, the players are in the feature match area. The opponent for Russell Morehouse's Simic Infect deck is going to be Zach Spores on Mardu Energy. We watched him earlier in the event. He's playing Sephiroth, Fabled Soldier, in Mardu Energy. Looks really cool. We didn't actually get to see it come into play, but I have seen the card already. It looks awesome, and hopefully we'll get to see it this round. But the players have been waiting for a minute, so let's go ahead and head to the feature match area and watch round number 7. On your left, we're going to be watching that back left table. That's Zach Spores on Mardu Energy. His opponent's going to be the one in the red hat. On your right, Russell Morehouse.
Backwards hat versus forwards hat.
The
very contentious
Panoptic
battle.
Mirror. All right, here's Rogovan on turn 1. A great start for Zach Sports. That's what we're calling him, Zach Sports now. Director.
You know, we can't be esports. We might as well try to be Zach Sports.
That's fine. We have a Noble Hierarch as a potential blocker. Are there mutagenic growths in this deck?
No mutagenic growths.
Vomit.
Pump spells are 4 Scale Up, 4 Might of Old Krosa, and 4 Vines of Vastuid.
All right, so Rogovan comes in, going to connect. No blocks from the Noble Hierarch. We're going to deal 2 damage, get a treasure, and flip the top card off of Morehouse's deck. Not too many things you can hit off of the top of this Infect deck that you'd want to play from the Mardu Energy side. Maybe like another Noble Hierarch.
Yes! I'm hoping Spores hits multiple Rot Priests and poisons out the poison deck.
There's that really boss treasure token from Once Upon a Galaxy. Those Mimic treasure tokens are so sweet.
Play it. Play the Venerated Rot Priest.
But why?
Do it.
Pourquoi? Pourquoi?
Why not?
Because you can have a mana later.
Or you can have a Venerated Rot Priest now.
Yeah. I mean, it is a 1/2, so maybe it does something.
Boo!
He's probably holding up Galvanic or...
Boo!
Okay, right. I agree that if he just has, like, Goblin Bombardment, you know, playing it has significant value.
Yeah, it gets him closer to the city's blessing. Actually, it's the same, but it's okay.
Gets him closer to the 0 life's blessing from Goblin Bombardment. Fetch a Brooding Pool from Morehouse. Going to go down to, I believe, 15 after the Rogman connection. See what we got for turn number 2 for Morehouse. Got a little bit of acceleration from the Noble. That's a turn 2 stock up. That looks pretty good. Top 5 cards coming. Morehouse going to put 2 in hand. Dig through time-esque.
It would look a lot better if he wasn't facing down Ragavan and a Johnny right now. But
it's not Russell Morehouse's fault that they made Ragavan or that they made a Johnny. These are just 1 and 2 drop creatures. These used to be much smaller and not have any abilities.
I will say, because of the sort of non-combat aspect of this deck, Russell has the capability to combo kill very quickly and turn the corner. So, you know, he's not hopelessly far behind. I kind of want to see other ways to further that aspect of this deck, though. If you had Green Sun Zenith to find more Rot Priests, if you had Mockingbird to copy Rot Priest, just stuff like that would really help this aspect of the deck, because he's very far behind now after casting the stock up on turn 2.
Yeah, what I envision when you talk about Mockingbird in that kind of deck is you cast Mockingbird, and then your opponent kills your Rot Priest in response. And then you have a 1/1 Mockingbird.
Little flyer.
All right, here's a big attack coming. Rogvan, a Johnny in the token. That's 5 damage coming across. Morehouse should be down to 11.
He's already taken it. He's at 10.
All right, whatever. All right, and then gets a treasure token. And after this Goblin Bombardment comes down, I don't know that there's a way out.
And it was a good one against Infect. Not one that they had to contend with back in your day.
All right, and Spores is just...
Of course, they also didn't have electricity then either.
Back in my day, they didn't have electricity. Wow.
They're just so old. Basically dust.
We played at the same time.
Yeah, but I was young then. You were already old.
All right, here's a Johnny, and I think all damage is going to face so that Morehouse's life total is extra low here and vulnerable to the bombardment next turn. I wonder if Spores are going to burn this, oh god, the 1-mana enchantment Static Prison to get rid of the Noble Hierarch here.
I'm fine with it. Noble Hierarch was always secretly the card you wanted to kill in this Infect deck.
I thought he was going to use the first Goblin Bombardment to ping it down and then just hold the Static Prison for later, but we're entering into a stage where later doesn't exist.
Okay, lets the Noble Hierarch lives. Morehouse gets untapped with the full 3 mana, but he just doesn't have time to set anything up.
Yeah, this is my experience with Infect in the later years.
Yeah, you cast stock up and then lost?
No, I head in hands always. Because my opponent would play Spell Skype or something, and I would just never be able to win.
You got to get those twisted images in your deck.
Oh, I had plenty.
Yeah.
Had plenty.
We need a modern format where twisted image is playable again.
I would play that modern format. I think we just have to make our own modern format and like carve out a 10-year period. There's no other way to do it. All right, Noble Hierarch against the world.
My bet's on the world.
Yeah.
And I'm a big Noble Hierarch guy, so...
It's basically Noble Hierarch versus MH3. Or Modern Horizons, all of them.
So Noble versus Ignoble.
Yeah. Morehouse in the tank. Maybe has Venerated Rot Priest and a bunch of ways to target. Unclear. We know that was it March of Swirling Mist allows for some wonky kills.
And Spores could sack some creatures in response if he needed to, just to get the last few points. I mean, that would be 2 to 5. Then the Ajani's only 1, plus another 1 from the bombardment. You would still need another 2 creatures.
There's the Rot Priest. That's the scary one.
That's definitely step 1 for Morehouse coming back in this game. Step 2 is probably second Rot Priest.
I was thinking the same. But without mutagenic growth, even a single March of Swirling Mist can only do like 6 poison with the second Rot Priest there. So he would need to like land another creature, another Rot Priest, and then March plus 2 pitches or something. I don't know. But we're going to go back to Spores' way. At 7 life and a Goblin Bombardment, I think the Spores is going to be able to wrap this one up this turn. We'll see exactly how he does it. He's going to start with a 0 on a Johnny. That's going to give him a 3rd creature, deal 3 to face with the ability. Puts down to 4, and then this here Flage should be Good enough.
Good enough. Good enough.
That was my wedding vows.
Oof.
Oh, I meant for myself. That was her wedding vows for me. Good enough.
So the bar's always been low in your life?
Yeah. Even when I was in the, oh God, what's not hula, when you go under the bar in the Hawaii?
Limbo?
Yeah. Especially when I was in my limbo competition days.
Ah, yes.
The bar was very low. All right,
Going
well,
against Barbados Slim.
all right, well, Zach Spore takes an uneventful game 1 in the Infect deck. Not really putting up much of a fight. We'll head on over to the sideboards here and see if this Rot Priest deck has any help.
I think Stock Up will be a fine card in this matchup. It's just not something you can afford to play on turn 2. That's a card that Morehouse wants to play on turn 4 or 5. Just played a little bit too early, especially on the draw. Fell too far behind.
All right, well, what cards out of this Zoomer Infect deck do you think can help out against Mardu, man?
So,
Need some help.
his sideboard is 3 Consign to Memory,
Nothing.
2 Dismember,
Yep.
2 Force of Vigor, 1 Grafdigger's Cage, 1 Nature's Claim, 1 Torpor Orb, 3 Veil of Summer, and 2 Spellskite.
Okay, do you think the spell size come in to help
Oh,
break
absolutely.
up some of that removal?
Good against Galvanic Discharge most of the time.
Yeah.
I think the Dismembers will likely come in to get some early interaction. You can afford to pay some life just to deal with that early Ajani, early Ragavan. Past that, I guess Torpor Orb is possible, but probably not good enough.
No shot. No chance.
And then maybe you care that much about Goblin Bombardment specifically that you want Nature's Claim. Can also hit Static Prison. One
Yeah.
claim is not. It's not going to hurt you that much if you draw it, and it's not that good.
Maybe you have to. I mean, the bombardment there was like lights out the moment it
Yeah.
was cast. No, at no point was there a threat of dying.
And notably, Venerated Rot Priest only triggers when your creatures are targeted by a spell, not an ability, so you don't get to punish it with Rot Priest. So yeah, might need specifically good answers to Bombardment itself, but the Dismembers and Spellskite should for sure come in.
All right, on the other side of the table, this Mardu energy deck has some Sephiroths in it. What else has he got in the sideboard that can come in and beat up on this Infect deck?
Zach Spore has 1 Celestial Purge, 2 Clarion Conqueror, 2 High Noon, 2 Obsidian Charmaw, 1 Prismatic Ending, 2 Surgical Extraction, 2 Thoughtseize, 2 Vindicate, and 1 Wear Tear. I would be inclined to bring in the Thoughtseizes and the Prismatic Ending, and I don't think I'd bring in anything else. The High Noons, the Surgicals, the Vindicates can all be a little bit tempting, but I think fall short of the mark.
All right, as these players are shuffling up here for game number 2, I'd like to take this time to say thank you to the sponsors of this weekend's festivities here at Apex Con and our invitational qualifiers. We're sponsored by SpiceRack.gg. SpiceRack is a wonderful piece of tournament software you can use to run events if you're a tournament organizer, or if you're looking for an event near you, check out SpiceRack.gg today. We're also sponsored by Moxfield.com. Moxfield is a great deck building website where we post all of our deck lists, and you can share them easily with your friends and communities. All of our links on Spice Rack for deck lists go to our Moxfield page, and so if you follow our Moxfield page, you'll see all the deck lists that we post from this weekend's events sometime this week. We're also sponsored by Ultimate Guard, the industry leader when it comes to TCG supplies, from the Katana sleeves to the Archive deck box. Check your local game store today for Ultimate Guard products. And last but not least, Once Upon a Galaxy, the brand new auto battler from Great Magic Minds, Luis Scott Vargas and Matt Nass. Make sure to check out Once Upon a Galaxy in your phone's app store today. Players are about ready here for game number 2, so let's head on down. And we're off. Morehouse, turn 1, Noble Hierarch, Shocking and Breeding Pool, pass the turn.
Okay, great start. That's exactly what he wants. Even better than a turn 1 Rot Priest.
Yeah, the turn 1 Noble Hierarch was always desirable when playing Infect.
Makes it so much easier to play your future creatures and hold up protection.
Right. All right, Fetch Shock 4 Spores down to 17. Going to find Ocelot Pride. Going to go back to Morehouse.
Can't even block Noble Hierarch. Horrible creature.
Yeah. Don't even know why people are playing it. Who plays white? White's a bad color, remember?
All you need is blue as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. You ever play that mono blue, popper deck back in the day with Cloud of Fairies and all that junk?
Yeah, I've played that deck.
That's so much fun. Ninjutsu, Ninja the Deep Hour to get you.
Now it's a Dimir deck
Yeah.
with your $80 What's the snuff outs?
Snuff out's $80.
It's something crazy because it just hasn't been reprinted. It's not that high, but
Okay.
they're like
It
20.
was
They're like
reprinted
20
one
or 30.
That's gross, though. Here's a spell guide from Russell Morehouse that's going to allow some protection for his creatures over the next few turns. We're going to play Hedge Maze and mill over a Force of Vigor. Don't want to draw that one right this moment.
So clearly some disenchants have come in from Morehouse and the Spell Guide. Another great draw. Will contain some of the aggression out of the Mardu energy deck and continue to lay down protection for his key threats. So Morehouse realizing this is not a matchup to go as fast as possible because the energy deck has a lot of cheap removal and other interaction to stop those fast kills. What you want to do is play a little bit slower, but with protection, and he's doing just that.
Spores here are going to fetch with Bloodstained Mire. Are going to go get a land. See if he can clear the Spellskite, but even if he can't, he can still attack with the Ocelot Pride, no fear, gain a life, and then end of turn make some tokens.
Yeah, and Morehouse actually taking the damage here because he doesn't want the Spellskite to die to a Galvanic Discharge.
I think that's heads up. I think 1 damage is not a big deal, and you're not stopping the token generation, so.
Agreed.
All right, Spores, post-combat. Oh, goodness. Second Ocelot Pride, so things are about to get out of hand. And a Rogovan, up to 5 permanents, and the end of turn we're going to make 2 tokens, going to get up to 7.
Yeah, so should be City's Blessing next turn.
Yeah, more than likely.
Then we will call in NASA to calculate how many cats he gets.
I will need at least 1 geometric calculator and 1 abacus.
Yeah, all I have is a slide rule.
I need do you have a protractor?
That's for measuring angles.
I like to measure your angles, Ross.
Oof. Now we're getting a little after.
HR! HR! Sorry.
Inkmoth Nexus to play for Morehouse, so now he has 1 big threat if he wants to combo in the traditional Infect way.
The Inkmoth does have Summoning Sickness, so we can't like fire it up, swing in with 2 pump spells.
Yeah, that'll be a next turn play. But if you had something like Double Might of Old Krosa, along with the Exalted trigger from Noble Hierarch, that would be 10.
Yep. I'm going to pass it back to Spores. A lot of creatures in play now. Finds Prismatic Ending. Nice way to clean up that there Spellskite. Guess we could protect it with something like, what, Vines of Vastwood? We got those in the deck?
We can. 4 copies there.
All right, 2 Ocelot Prides, 2 tokens, and a Rogovan coming on in. See how Morehouse wants to defend. Could use some creatures to block and then pump them with various pump spells to eat stuff in combat. Spellskite's guaranteed to protect as well.
So Spellskite jumping in front of the Rogovan.
Yeah, we're going to take 4 down to 13. Ooh, something before damage. Looks like the March of Swirling Mist, so we're going to do some phasing out. Let's get March on the screen. March of Swirling Mists. This is blue and X. Phase out X creatures, and then they come back at the beginning of the next upkeep of that player.
That is how phasing. They don't come back. They just they phase in.
They unphase.
They phase in.
Phase in.
So paying 3 for X and then pitching the Blighted Agent to effectively get 2 more. So targets all 5 creatures for Zach Spores. Now, because they don't leave the battlefield, the tokens will phase back in.
Really?
Yeah, tokens can phase out and in.
All right, well, we'll probably have to tell them about that because Spores removed them from the pile.
No, they're just sitting over there. They're phased out. They're still on the battlefield,
Right,
but they
I'll
don't
bet
get
dinner.
treated as
I bet
if
you dinner.
they're on the
He's not
battlefield.
going to put them back. You want to bet dinner on it? All right.
What are you doing, Todd?
I'm being right. Anyway, here's a Johnny. Going to make a 2-1.
This just took the green 2/2 cats and Sharpie to 1 on them. Love it.
Nice.
That's the Hezekiah's Chariot cat.
All right, passes the turn. So those won't phase back in until the next turn. And they will have, they don't have haste, but they don't have summoning sickness either.
Yeah. Because they were on the battlefield. They were just phased out.
All right, fetch here with Windswept Heath, Morehouse. Gonna go get a land, and the way he's playing, he might have it rolled up thanks to that Spellskite. We'll see if he goes for the kill with Inkmoth Nexus here.
Just 1 mana untapped for Zach Spores can't imagine there's more than one piece of interaction, and Spellskite will cover it, so...
All right, here's Inkmoth. There's scale up, so it becomes a 6 power.
6/4 Inkmoth Nexus. Now Might of Old Krosa will do it. Ooh.
So that's 7. Any responses? Looks like we're just going to go for a 7-piece. And Morehouse not closing the door yet. Spore's going to have at least one more turn. And a second Spellskite, and it looks like we're empty-handed, so we're going to send it back to Spores' way.
So that means it's 2 more turns, potentially, for Zach Spores, since there's only a threat of 2 Infect on the battlefield.
All right, do we need to stop them and go get them tokens back, Ross?
Yeah, those tokens should be back in, unless I'm incorrect.
All right, well, we're going to Google how phasing with tokens works, and while we do that, see if Spores can come in, figure out a way to not be dead. Although, as it stands right now, only a 2-point attack with the Inkmoth Nexus next turn is being threatened. All right, looks like we're doing some conversing here. We might go grab a judge. I'm not 100% how these tokens work, but Ross is looking it up, phasing versus tokens. And I think Ross is right, but at some point it might have changed.
Tokens continue to exist while phased out and phase back in like any other permanent. Yeah,
All right.
They do not. They do not leave the battlefield. They are just phased out. They just seem like they've left the battlefield.
Phasing, do you know how phasing used to work against Batterskull?
It would come back, but it wouldn't be equipped.
But the Batterskull would not come back. I don't know why, but it was like a permanent way to exile the token and the Batterskull, because I think it used to exile tokens with phasing, and the tokens wouldn't come back, and so the Batterskull didn't come back. This is 2012 Legacy or whatever, you know. Phasing's gone through some changes since then, but...
Okay, so we got everybody squared away. The tokens are there.
All right, tokens come back. Spore's going to jam on in for 1,000. Needs Goblin Bombardment to seal the deal. Now, these 2 Spellskites are not very scary. You can't block the Inkmoth. There's very little reason not to send him with everything, but maybe he's trying to figure out pre-combat if he wants to bang on one of these Spellskites with a prismatic ending or what. I don't mind it. I mean, it's not getting much better. 2 Spellskites. One's going to jump in front of the Ragavan, more than likely. My guess is the other one just blocks the other 2-power creature.
Yep.
We take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage down to 11.
And Zach Spores should have the City's Blessing right now. So there is 10 permanents on the battlefield. So this is an attack for 5, and if nothing else is made, then the first Ocelot Pride will make 2 1/1s, and the second one will make 4, and we'll end up with 6 more cats. And that still represents lethal next turn. Unless Russell blocks with Inkmoth or Noble.
All right. Blocking here. Take 5. Gain 2. Johnny, no flip. Bunch of lands for Spores, it looks like. I think there's a Flage in the back left of the hand, so maybe we use that post-combat to just zap one of the Spellskites.
That'll play. And then it's just...
Hope I don't die.
Yeah. Russell knocking the top of his deck, trying to find a pump spell.
All right. City's Blessing. We're going to get a bajillion cats.
Should be 6 total.
All right. Back to Morehouse. Draws for turn. Can we find it? Pump spell.
Didn't get a good look. He's animating, though.
Is he? Oh!
That'll do. Another noble.
You know what could have saved him? Prismatic ending for X equals 1.
No, but pending says...
Can you redirect it?
Yeah,
Oh,
because
gosh.
I checked. It says exile target non-land permanent if.
If.
So it doesn't restrict the things it can target. It just checks upon resolution, like Fatal Push.
Bummer. All right, well, Spore is unable to stop the Inkmoth Nexus from coming over for 3. Gets a 10 Infect, and Morehouse takes game number 2. As these players are shuffling up here for game number 3, Ross, is there any sideboard stuff you didn't see that you are expecting to, or any changes you think they might make on play draw?
Well, we saw the Force of Vigors come in for Morehouse because he surveilled one into the graveyard with the Hedge Maze. May reconsider whether that is something that he wants. But for the most part, this matchup's pretty straightforward. You know, the energy player wants their ways to interact with small creatures. Morehouse wants his ways to protect the small creatures and interact with the opposing small creatures. So, you know, this is not one where the change from play draw is going to have a huge effect. Maybe Morehouse had some stock ups in on the play. Maybe wants to cut those on the draw, make his deck a little bit leaner. That could be a change, but nothing significant.
All right, as these players are shuffling up here for game number 3, let's get the game count updated here for Morehouse since he did take game number 2. And that means Spores will be on the play. Looking to lead with, you know, a couple 1-drops, maybe some removal. Of the 3 primary 1-drops in this deck, is there anyone that really stands out to you as being the best against Infect specifically?
I would treat Infect like it's a combo deck, and that means Ragavan is the best one.
Okay.
You want that mana advantage so that you can cast all of your interaction as quickly as possible, and it applies a decent amount of pressure too, but it's really that mana advantage that's going to be very important. This is a matchup that's fast and furious.
All right, let's pray for Goblin Bombardment. Zach Spore is going to be on the play here with Boros. Let's see if the players are going to keep their openers. I saw a Ragavan. I also see like 5 lands. This might be a mulligan for Spores. That's tough. I think it's Prismatic Ending, Ragavan, 5 lands.
As far as 5-landers go, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, I mean, and the Surveil is good too, you know. Looks like he's going to keep. Morehouse here also looking like he's going to keep, so I think we're about to be underway.
Certainly needs a little help, but if he draws, you know, 2 spells for his first 2 draws, then this hand looks great.
Yeah. All right, here's Ragavan for Zach Spores. It's going to be a nice little starter. I'm going to go back to Morehouse and see what his 1-drop of choice is going to be. No play. That's pretty bad. See what Spores cooks up here for turn 2. Finds Goblin Bombardment.
That's a spell. Now if he hits Venerated Rot Priest, I bet he casts it.
We're going to fetch here as Morehouse. Is there a Dryad Arbor in the deck? Is he about to ambush Viper, this Ragavan?
There is not a Dryad Arbor in the deck.
Okay, so he's fetching Force before the Ragavan hits. I guess this is to play around Blood Moon. Does he only have the 1 Force in the deck?
Correct. Yeah, doesn't want the Force to get hit from the Ragavan trigger.
Okay. Might have Dismember here, but I don't know if I don't think damage has gone through yet.
Okay, it is a Dismember.
Oh, nice. So Morehouse coming prepared with those sideboard Dismembers and going to take 4 damage, but Ragavan cleaned up.
Now likely to just see Goblin Bombardment cast here for Spores. He's giving this a think. Maybe there's another spell in there.
Shadowy Backstreet.
Does surveil land into the graveyard with that Backstreet.
All right, I'm going to go back to Morehouse. No pressure, though, so has some time. Going to shock in a Breeding Pool. And deploys Spellskite. He's about to do lands in front. Now he's going to go get him disqualified. That is against the rules. Sephiroth to pick up for Spores. Let's see if he wants to play that this turn for no value.
Probably does.
Yeah. It's a great card. I mean, let's get the new Sephiroth on the screen. We've talked about it a couple times this weekend already, but at 3 mana, it's a 3/3, and this is the what? Some advanced soldier,
Fabled Soldier.
fabled soldier. But this Sephiroth, 3 mana, 3/3. Whenever enters or attacks, you may sacrifice another creature if you do draw a card, and then he has a static effect of whenever any other creature dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life, which is Blood Artist-esque. And then if this is the 4th time this ability is resolved, he transforms into the world's most scary angel.
A one-winged angel.
The Angel Nightmare Avatar. That's a GG when you see that one. Here is Sephiroth, the Fabled Soldier. We got a reader. I'm pretty sure we're all reading it right now. Has the ability Supernova. As this creature transforms into the one-winged angel, you get an emblem with whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life, so you get the emblem. That's kind of awesome. And then whenever Sephiroth attacks, you may sack any number of other creatures. If you do, draw that many cards. So bigger flying version of the front side. I love the emblem idea. It sticks around even when he's gone.
Yeah, gives more of those combo kills that this energy deck has done with Goblin Bombardment. Now you can do them with Sephiroth.
Yeah, and together they are just nightmarish. Seems like the perfect fit for this style of deck, and it's something I'm going to be working on in the near future. Quite like the idea of it.
And with the Voice of Victory and the Mobilize, you get 2 creatures dying. It's easy to get up to 4.
I love just turn 2 Ajani, turn 3 Sephiroth, sack the Ajani token, and transform Ajani. Draw a card. All right, here is a fetch land from Morehouse. I'm going to find another breeding pool. Wow, our life total is getting low, and we haven't even really been attacked yet. Dismember, breeding pool ×2, and fetch land ×2.
Gonna make it hard to potentially use this Spell Skite.
Yeah. Pay the blue. That's what I do. Venerated Rot Priest. Well, that's a good start. Second Venerated Rot Priest. It's about to get gross. So Venerated Rot Priest has seen some play in Standard, but it's one of those Infect creatures that's interesting because it doesn't actually have to attack. And here, Morehouse with Spellskite is going to be able to maybe bounce the scale up around a little bit, but we get basically 2 Infect triggers from the first target, and then we can move it to the Spellskite and get 2 more targets, I believe, so 4 triggers.
It says whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, so Spellskite changing the target allows you to have 2 creatures become the target of 1 spell. So this should be 4 poison counters going to Zach's Spores. But it'll cost Morehouse another 2 life.
Yeah. Now, if he had a second Spellskite in play, I believe what he could do is bounce from one Spellskite to the other and back and forth and back and forth until all the poison damage has been done.
Effectively, you trade 2 life for 2 poison counters.
Yeah. Yo! Big shout out to Jim Davis, our good friend. Rated the Ultimate Guard channel. Appreciate you. Hope you had a good stream, buddy. I know Corey B was in the booth with him recently, and y'all put on some good shows.
Good man Jim is for putting up with Corey for so long.
All right. Wait, what does that make me?
Not as good.
Yeah, I haven't been putting up with him too much.
You get to have me half the time. That's way better.
Prismatic Ending on the Spellskite, and I think the Rot Priest triggers here too, so Spore's going to go up to 6 poison. Now what?
Spellskite gets exiled. That's what.
Yep. It's funny, if he had targeted a Rot Priest, then it would have got 2 poison, and then the Spellskite could redirect, and that'd be 2 more poison. Rot Priest is scary.
Yeah, it's becoming hard for Spores to interact.
Yeah. This looks like just a bombardment, and those Rot Priests have 2 toughness. Let's get Venerated Rot Priest on the screen. We've seen it gain a 6 poison already, and I think it's about to end the game here. So let's see if Morehouse has 2 spells to cast as targets, and if he does, then we'll go up to 10 poison. without even having to use the red zone. So it has Toxic 1, which means that if it connects, it deals 1 poison, but whenever any creature you control becomes the target of a spell, the target opponent gets a poison counter. And when you have 2 of them, it triggers twice.
Morehouse is thinking, so I don't think it's a straightforward kill.
It's not one that you can buff and it deals more damage either, so.
Okay, there's Might of Old Crosa. That'll get 2 more poisons, so Spores up to 8. Now there's a 5/6 Rot Priest and a 1/2.
So we can send both, and it'll put him to 9 poison if he eats the small one, and then Inkmoth Nexus can be lethal next turn.
Yeah,
But-
just send with the 5/6.
Yeah, I would just take 5. Get 1 poison. What are you going to do? Dead any targeted spell anyway.
Yeah, clearly the last card that Morehouse has is a brick. Maybe another creature, but something irrelevant. And Spores needs to find something like Seasoned Pyromancer to have enough creatures to be able to take down one of the Rot Priests with the bombardment, and then have a removal spell for the second, going up to 9 poison. And draws a Galvanic Discharge, but I don't think he has more creatures to throw. So,
No, and unfortunately for him, that Galvanic Discharge just triggers the Venerated Rot Priest, which gives him 1 poison, and at 9, that's GG.
yeah, that's it's not going to go well.
Well, enter garbage time. Let's see if Spores know something we don't, or maybe I'm just wrong.
No, this is the I don't have a good line, but I'm going to sit here for 5 minutes trying to find one. Pause.
Yeah. And so Russell Morehouse wins 2-1. Sephiroth gonna attack? Question mark? What else you gonna do? We're missing so much of the other game, Ross. I want to watch the other game. There it is. Okay, we're not missing anymore. Thank you, Zach. Good sport here. Paxton and Morehouse wins the match 2-1 with his unique take on Infect. Interesting deck. And good to see it finish 5-2. Great record.